The galaxy had forgotten the name of Earth. It was only a word buried inside old dust files on broken satellites, nothing more than a joke shared by alien scholars in drinking halls. 300 years had passed since the Vornak Empire began burning the stars one system at a time, their warships cutting through space like black knives as they erased entire civilizations simply because they could. No one resisted. No one dared to stand against a force that had destroyed thousands of cities and crushed millions of lives into silence. The galaxy had learned one lesson. If the Vornak want something, they take it, and they leave behind nothing but smoke and stories. In the forgotten corners of known space, inside the cold metal walls of Station K-42, a small observatory sat attached to a dying moon. The station was a lonely place, surrounded by frozen rock and deep black space with no sound except the hum of old machines. A young radar officer named Ravan sat in front of a cracked screen, his eyes tired, his uniform old, and his heartbeat slow from years of watching nothing. He had never seen a real warship with his own eyes. He was born after the last rebellion was crushed, and in his life the Vornak were not an enemy. They were a storm everyone accepted like weather. Ravan worked alone on the night shift, when the stars outside were quiet and cold, and the station felt like the last piece of metal floating at the edge of creation. He lived with routine. Every hour he scanned the empty sky, checked old signals, recorded numbers that never changed. Sometimes he wondered if he would die on this chair, an old man staring at a screen that showed nothing for a lifetime. But tonight something strange was pressing on his mind, a small feeling that the silence around him was too heavy. His AI system, a soft female voice built into the console, whispered power data and coordinates. He barely listened. At exactly 2:13 station time, Ravan leaned forward, blinked twice, and rubbed his eyes because his radar flashed red. For the first second he thought it was a glitch. The screen showed a blinking symbol he had never seen before. A massive object had entered the system. The station lights flickered as the computer tried to understand what it was. The object was not a planet. Its size was wrong, its movement was too fast, and its signature was artificial, like something built, not born. Ravan's chest tightened as numbers filled the display. He whispered to himself, not sure if he was dreaming. The AI voice trembled as if it too was afraid. Object class, unknown. Signature, Terran. For one long second Ravan's mind stopped. Terran? His heart skipped a beat. Humans were a myth, a broken legend told by ancient data tapes played in schools to make children laugh. The last history he remembered said humans died centuries ago during the First Great War. Their home planet burned until oceans disappeared. He tried to breathe, but the air inside the observatory felt thin. Humanity cannot exist, he thought. The word Terran cannot appear on this radar. The station walls shook slightly. The object was moving, getting closer to the moon. Ravan pressed every button with shaking fingers. The AI repeated the same report, as if forcing him to hear the truth. Signature, Terran. 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 Outside the window the moon's surface was covered with black shadows. Something enormous was hiding behind it. Only a tiny part of the object was in sight, but that small part already looked larger than any warship ever built in history. Ravan zoomed the camera, his hands shaking so fast he could barely control them. The silver surface of the object was smooth, no windows, no weapons, only massive dark armor that looked like the skin of a quiet beast sleeping in space. There was no engine flame, no heat trace, not even radio noise. It floated like a ghost. Ravan tried connecting to nearby fleet channels. Maybe other stations saw it too. But the moment he opened communication, all Vornak fleets near the system went silent. No signals. No scouts. No noise. It was as if every warship had simply passed out in one breath. The radar showed hundreds of red enemy icons blinking out one by one like dying stars. Ravan's voice cracked. He spoke to no one, yet his words echoed through the empty station. This is not possible. What is happening? He tried calling command, sending emergency signals, screaming at the console as if his voice could reach someone. But everything stayed dead and quiet. Then it happened. Every military channel in the galaxy lit up at the same time. Screens from battleships, stations, bunkers, council chambers, cities, Bars, schools, even old devices that had not worked in years. Every single one showed the same message. There was no sound, no voice, only a line made of simple white letters. This is Earth. Do not run. Surrender. Ravan stared at the words until his eyes blurred. Earth? Humans were talking to the galaxy? His throat dried. His body shook. He tried to understand. The galaxy believed humans died. It was memory. It was written history. But history had lied. Or history was blind. Ravan remembered old jokes. Humans were loud, but not strong. But now the sky itself was shaking. He could feel the weight of something ancient crawling back into existence. The observatory floor vibrated. The unknown ship moved. It rotated slowly, revealing only a small curve of its enormous hull, and Ravan realized the terrible truth. What he saw on his screen was not the full ship. That was only a piece, maybe the front or the side, and it was already bigger than a city. The real shape was hiding behind the moon like a monster too large to look at directly. Ravan whispered into the silence. How big are they? How long have they been building this? The AI offered no answer. It continued scanning, but every scan failed. The surface absorbed signals like water swallows sand. Ravan's stomach twisted as he imagined humans working in secret, outside the galaxy, building something so powerful that even the Vornak feared to speak their name. Why now? Why did they return after centuries of silence? The answer came to Ravan like a cold shiver down his spine. Humans came back because the galaxy was burning again. They had promised something in the old war, a promise everyone forgot. Before humanity died, they said one sentence to the stars: if the galaxy burns again, humans will return, with something you are not ready to see. Now Ravan understood the message on the military channel was not a threat. It was a warning. It was a final chance. The station broadcast screen changed. A new line appeared, gentle but terrifying. Earth remembers. The words were simple, but they felt heavy like black metal. Ravan thought of his grandparents telling stories, stories everyone laughed at, stories about humans who fought giants with fire in their heart. Children used to play games pretending to be humans, waving sticks like swords, shouting old battle cries. But those stories became dust. No one believed them. Schools rewrote history. The galaxy erased the memory of Earth because the idea of humans was too dangerous. Humans were unpredictable, stubborn, and they learned faster than any species. If they survived the First War, they could become something the galaxy could not control. So everyone let the idea of Earth die. But Earth never died. It hid. It waited. And now it was awake. The unknown object pulsed. Not light, not energy, something deeper. A vibration through space itself. Ravan checked the radar. The object was releasing smaller dots, tiny black shapes moving out like shadows spreading through water. His heart jumped. At first he thought they were drones, a scouting patrol. But they moved with the calm precision of predators. They positioned around the moon like a silent defensive ring. No heat signature. No sound. Even the AI did not know what they were. Ravan's eyes widened as he zoomed in. The shapes had surfaces that seemed to bend the stars behind them, like space was folding around their armor. He whispered, "How can anything move without energy?" His communicator suddenly burst alive with noise. The station commander's voice entered with panic, shouting, demanding answers. "Ravan, what are you transmitting? Are you insane? You wrote Terran signature? Humans are extinct. Do you want the Vornak to destroy our station? Fix your error now." The commander thought Ravan had made a mistake. Ravan tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Sir, it's not an error. The object is Terran. It is behind the moon. It is real." The commander shouted again, calling Ravan delusional, reminding him humans disappeared centuries ago and only fools believed they lived in secret. Ravan turned his camera to show the commander the live image, but the screen only showed black shadow. The object did not want to be seen. It hid from the commander's screen, blocking itself like it could feel when other eyes looked at it. The commander cursed and closed the call. Ravan sat in the dark, shaking. He understood that no one would believe him until it was too late. The galaxies watching the message didn't know what to do. Some thought it was a joke. Some thought it was a trap from the Vornak pretending to be humans. But those who remembered the old words, the old wounds, the first war, felt fear rising inside their bones. They remembered something their ancestors told them. Humans never bluff. If humans speak, they have already planned 10 steps ahead. Outside the window, Ravan saw stars disappearing behind the black curve of the massive ship. He tried to count the lights blinking on its edges, but he couldn't. The scale was wrong for his mind. It was like trying to count mountains with naked eyes. He whispered again, Terran. The word felt heavy in his throat like a secret spoken for the first time in a lifetime. He thought about Earth. What did the human home look like now? A dead rock? Or something else? Maybe humans rebuilt their world in darkness, far from war. Maybe they found new laws of physics. Maybe they turned stars into tools. Ravan imagined humans working in places no one ever mapped, outside the galaxy, where radiation storms hide everything from scanners. That would explain why no one found their bodies. They never died. They left. They escaped. They waited. And now they returned because the Vornak Empire was burning the galaxy the same way they tried to burn Earth. Ravan leaned closer to the screen, his breath fogging the glass. The ship did not move like a metal machine. It felt alive, like a creature sleeping behind the moon, opening only one eye to look at the world. The screen flickered. For a second Ravan saw a symbol glowing on the hull, a circle with 3 lines crossing it. He did not know the meaning, but his heart pounded. A symbol means civilization, not ruins. He remembered the message. This is Earth. Do not run. Surrender. It was not long, not dramatic, not shouted. It was calm. Calm like a hand touching fire without fear. Ravan understood humans were giving one chance, one warning. They did not need noise. They did not need speeches. The galaxy used speeches. Humans used results. Suddenly the station alarm screamed. A wave of blue light spread across the moon's surface. Ravan saw the shadow shapes leave their positions and shoot into deep space faster than any engine he had seen. They moved without flame, without sound. He heard his AI whisper one last sentence. Terran fleet formation complete. Ravan cried out, Fleet? How many ships? The AI did not answer. It only repeated the word complete like a prayer. Ravan watched the black shapes disappear, moving toward the Vornak positions where fleets had already gone silent. The war had already started, and the galaxy did not even understand the shape of the battlefield. All he could do was breathe, stare, and wait. His hands trembled. His thoughts were loud inside his mind. The story of humans had never ended. The galaxy only believed it ended. But humans ended stories with action, not with words. The observatory lights dimmed. The giant ship behind the moon remained silent, watching everything like an ancient eye. Ravan whispered one more time, Earth remembers. And somewhere in the dark, the ship seemed to pulse in answer. The final shock came when a new line appeared on the display, written in simple white letters that froze Ravan's blood. We are here. The words were the end of history and the beginning of something new. The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but Ravan felt it in his bones. Humans did not come to negotiate. They came to finish what the Vornak started centuries ago. And their silence was louder than any war cry ever spoken. Outside the window, the moon glowed with reflected light from something massive turning slowly behind it. The story of the galaxy was changing in one night, and the first witness was a forgotten radar officer in a dead station at the edge of the stars. Ravan closed his eyes, let a slow breath escape his lips, and whispered to the empty room, the galaxy will never be the same again. Ravan did not sleep the next 4 hours. His eyes burned, but he could not leave the screen. Every second he felt the weight of history pushing on his chest. The station around him was cold and quiet like a tomb floating in space, but his mind was alive, shaking with fear and curiosity because he knew he was watching the first moment of something the galaxy never imagined, the return of humanity, the silence of Earth turning into a storm. He drank cold water, the cup shaking in his hands, his heart beating too fast for his body, and he whispered to himself again and again that this was not a dream, not a mistake, not a cosmic accident. It was real, the message was real, the ship was real, the Terran signature was real, and that meant everything the galaxy believed was a lie. His mind tried to understand how humans had survived, how they had built something so massive without anyone seeing it, how they had erased their presence from every deep scan and satellite network. But the questions only made fear grow bigger because every question had the same answer. Humans changed. Humans evolved into something no one could predict. They had disappeared for centuries not because they died but because they were preparing. The station screen showed no more movement near the moon, only the giant hidden shape behind it, silent like a mountain in the dark. But Ravan knew the war had already begun far away. Where Vornak fleets once floated with arrogance, now there was only black silence. He tried to connect to military channels again, but everything returned only static, every voice lost like ghosts, until suddenly one channel opened with violent noise and screams. The image shook and showed the inside of a Vornak warship, red lights flashing, alarm sounds cutting the air, soldiers running in panic, their faces showing something Ravan never saw before on Vornak, pure fear. The captain shouted orders, his voice shaking, telling them to fire everything. But the screen jumped and the image glitched. Then something impossible happened. Every metal wall bent inward. The ship folded like paper. No explosion, no fire, only a crushing silence, and then the screen went dark again. Ravan covered his mouth with his hand, his eyes wide, his heartbeat painful, because he understood humans were not using weapons the galaxy knew. They were not firing lasers or missiles. They were bending reality, crushing warships without energy signatures, without heat, without noise, like they learned how to turn space into their weapon. The idea was terrifying because if humans could destroy a warship without firing anything, it meant every defense in the galaxy was useless, every shield, every armor, every strategy was zero. Ravan's brain tried to escape the fear, but his eyes were locked on the screen, waiting for something more. His AI voice returned, softer than before, like a whisper in the dark, reporting a new reading, small signals spreading from the moon, moving faster than any speed recorded, heading toward the Vornak throne sector. And Ravan felt cold because he knew humans were moving to the heart of the Empire, without warning, without negotiation, without fear. The AI scanned the signals and for the first time said something emotional, something it was not programmed to say. They are not hiding anymore. Ravan stared at the words, confused, because an AI cannot feel emotion, but maybe even machines could sense the weight of this moment. Outside, the moon's surface glowed with faint silver lines like veins of light spreading across it, reflecting the shape behind it, the giant warship casting a shadow bigger than the moon itself. Ravan tried to imagine the inside of that ship. He imagined humans walking inside long halls made of star metal, silent and calm, their eyes like fire, their uniforms simple, their minds holding knowledge alien scientists could not even name. He wondered what humans looked like now. Maybe their bodies changed in deep space. Maybe their minds became something sharper. Maybe they did not see war the way other species saw it. Maybe to them war was a mistake that must be ended in one strike, not a game of power. Ravan felt something sting in his eyes, tears forming without reason, a strange feeling mixing fear and admiration. Because even though humans were terrifying now, even though their silence felt like thunder, there was something noble in the way they acted. They did not come to conquer planets or demand tribute. They came to punish the ones who burned the galaxy. They came for justice. Ravan remembered the stories of his great-grandfather who told him about the First War, about humans fighting with everything they had, even when they were losing, even when the galaxy turned against them. Humans never begged. They never surrendered. They promised revenge not for themselves but for everyone who suffered. And now that promise was alive. The screen flashed again, a new broadcast appearing, not from humans but from the Galactic Council chamber. The leaders of 50 species sitting around a circular hall, banners hanging, diplomats shouting at each other, panic in their eyes. The council prime speaker, an old creature with blue skin and 6 silver eyes, slammed his hand on the table, demanding silence, demanding answers, asking who sent the message, asking if humans were really alive, asking if someone was copying Terran codes to start chaos. But no one answered. Every ambassador looked at their screens like children watching lightning hit the sky. One ambassador, a fragile species with small wings, whispered something the broadcast barely caught. If humans returned, we must prepare for judgment. The room exploded with fear, diplomats shouting that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, hungry for revenge, that if humanity returned they would kill everyone, that the Vornak were not the only enemy, that humans were worse. Ravan felt anger in his chest. Because they were wrong, they never understood humans. They only feared their freedom. The Council Prime Speaker shouted again, demanding strategic plans, asking if they should send peace signals to the Terran ship, asking if they should offer alliances, asking if they should beg. Before the discussion could continue, the lights in the council chamber flickered, every screen turned black, and a single line appeared on all of them, the same words that Ravan had seen. This is Earth. Do not run. Surrender. The council chamber went silent, no one dared to breathe. And then the message changed only for 1 second, revealing something new. Earth remembers. The diplomats collapsed into their chairs, some in fear, some in disbelief, some whispering prayers to gods no one believed in anymore. The broadcast cut and Ravan's screen became empty again, but the silence was heavy like the air before a storm. Ravan heard footsteps outside his observatory door, someone running in the hallway. Then the station commander burst in, his face red, his voice shaking with anger and confusion, shouting at Ravan, demanding answers, asking what he did to the station, accusing him of hacking the system, accusing him of treason. Ravan turned slowly, his eyes empty from shock, and whispered, "Sir, humans are back." The commander laughed with madness, hitting the console, shouting that Ravan was delusional, that humans were ghosts, that the Vornak would kill them for even speaking the name Earth. Ravan showed him the radar, showed him the signals, showed him the signature. But the commander refused to believe until the station itself shook with a deep vibration like the sound of a distant drum. The walls hummed, the lights turned blue, and the AI voice said something neither of them expected. Terran main ship initiating system scan. Do not resist. The commander froze, his anger gone in 1 second, replaced by terror. Ravan looked at him and saw fear break the man's pride like glass. The station AI, built by the Council, was now responding to Terran commands. Humans were scanning the station without touching it, without entering it, without asking permission, their technology breaking every firewall like paper. Ravan felt his heart slow, his fear changing into something deep, something emotional, a kind of respect that made his eyes wet again. Humans were not shouting, they were not firing, they were not threatening, they were only acting, with calm confidence, like they had seen this future long ago. Outside, the moon shadow moved again, and for 1 second Ravan saw a reflection on the warship hull. A symbol glowing like white fire, simple and perfect. A circle with 3 lines crossing it. He did not know its meaning, but his soul felt it, like the symbol carried a story older than the galaxy. The screen flashed again, a final wave of messages appearing across every military network, in every language at the same time, written with calm patience. We came because the galaxy asked for help. We came because no one else did. Ravan's breath caught in his throat, the words slicing through him like a blade of truth. Humans did not return for revenge. They returned because the galaxy was dying, and someone had to stop the fire. They returned because silence lasted too long. They returned because promises matter even when centuries pass. Then the final line appeared, pulling every drop of blood from Ravan's face. We will take the Vornak Emperor. The message ended. The screen went black. The station became silent like a grave. Ravan looked at the commander, and the commander looked at Ravan, both understanding one thing at the same time. Everything was about to change. The galaxy would never forget the name Earth again. And far away, beyond the moonlight, the quiet Terran warship began to open something massive. The station walls felt too small for the sky outside. Ravan stood frozen at the console as the giant Terran warship behind the moon began to open something that looked like a door made of darkness. Black metal plates sliding with no sound yet shaking space like a silent earthquake. The moon's surface glowed silver from reflected light, shadows stretching across craters like long fingers reaching out. Ravan's heartbeat sounded like drums in his ears, every breath heavy, every second slower, because he knew whatever was inside that warship would change everything. It was not just a ship opening. It was history opening, secrets opening, forgotten promises opening, the future opening its jaws. The commander slowly stepped backward, his eyes locked on the screen, his mouth open without words, his anger gone, his pride broken, now only fear lived in his body. The AI voice returned again, soft and calm, reporting impossible readings. Something inside the Terran ship was not metal, not engine, not reactor, something alive, something stable like a star held inside a cage. Ravan whispered, almost without sound, "They built a star inside a warship." His voice cracked, the idea too large for his mind. The AI confirmed energy consistent with collapsed stellar core physics, something even scholars only drew in children's books as impossible dreams. If humans controlled star cores, if they turned stars into weapons, then the galaxy did not understand what war meant anymore. The Terran door opened fully now, revealing only darkness inside, no lights, no engines, only a black field that bent the stars behind it, like space itself was folded inward. Then something moved inside, a shape stepping out, not a ship, not a creature, something between both, silver edges forming a long triangle, no visible engines, gliding forward, slow and calm, like it did not move through space but through something deeper. Ravan's breath stopped, his mind searching for words. The AI whispered its first classification. Terran Zero Heat Vessel detected. The name meant nothing, yet everything, because it described the impossible, a ship with no energy signature. A ship that did not exist on scanners until it wanted to exist. A ship that could be anywhere without leaving traces. Ravan watched as more shapes exited the warship, one after another, dozens, then hundreds, forming a silent formation around the moon, like a black halo made of knives. Each ship had surfaces that bent light, making stars look broken, like reality was bending around their armor. Ravan realized that Vornak ships were not destroyed by weapons. They were destroyed by the physics inside these Terran vessels. Physics no one understood, physics humans made their language. The commander whispered in disbelief. How did humans learn this? Ravan did not answer, he could not answer. His mind was drowning in questions that only humans could answer. But humans were not speaking, they were only acting, showing the galaxy what centuries of silence created. Far away, in another part of space, the signals returned, the Vornak throne world broadcasting emergency messages. Command channels filled with screams, static, heavy breathing, fire alarms, the image shaking as soldiers ran through burning corridors. Ravan watched through the feed, feeling sickness in his stomach, because the Vornak Empire was collapsing faster than any war in history. Humans did not fight battles, humans ended them. The screen showed a gigantic throne chamber made of black stone and armored bone, the Vornak Emperor sitting on a high seat carved from the skeleton of some ancient beast, his face twisted with rage and fear, his eyes glowing red as he commanded his generals to activate the Starbreaker cannon, a weapon rumored to kill dying suns, a weapon the Empire built as a symbol of power. Ravan trembled as he saw the cannon charge, light bending around its edges, energy forming like a burning river. The Emperor screamed into the void, "Earth is dust. Earth is gone. You will die with your broken world." He fired. A beam of pure blue energy shot from the throne world into space, crossing stars in seconds, hitting the Terran warship behind the moon. Ravan shouted in terror, his heart collapsing, his hands clutching the console as the beam swallowed the moon's shadow. But nothing happened. The beam vanished into the black armor, like water falling into sand. No explosion. No fire. No force. The moon did not move. The warship did not shake. Reality remained calm. The Emperor stared into the feed with disbelief. His voice died in his throat, his fingers shaking on the throne, his power meaningless. Ravan felt something strange, relief mixed with horror, because now the galaxy understood something terrifying. Humans did not block the beam, humans absorbed it. The commander fell into a chair, his body weak, his voice gone, staring at the screen like a child staring at a monster under his bed. The AI whispered again, reporting a new reading, the Terran warship building pressure inside its core, not visible on outside armor, like something preparing deep within the heart of the ship. Ravan's voice shook, "They are charging something." He could not even imagine what a weapon powered by star core physics would look like. The AI could not identify it. It only reported gravitational distortion forming like a heavy pulse in space. Then something unbelievable happened. The Terran warship did not fire anything. It did not release beams or missiles. It only pulsed once. a silent ripple moving outward like a breath. The screen showing the Vornak throne world flickered. The beautiful blue planet turned black, not burning, not exploding, simply turning dark and silent. No sound, no fire, no destruction. It just stopped existing, like someone erased it from the universe, deleting it like a sentence in a story. Ravan froze, tears falling from his eyes without meaning, because he had never seen death like that. Death without violence, death without scream, death like a quiet end. He understood humans did not want glory. They wanted finality. They wanted the war to end without chaos. The galaxy watched millions of screens go black at the same time. All feeds from the Vornak throne sector ending with silent darkness. Ravan felt the weight of every life lost, innocent and guilty, all erased in one breath. His heart hurt, not because he pitied the Emperor, but because he understood the size of human power, the size of human responsibility, the size of the promise they carried. The AI whispered a final line from the Terran transmission, reaching every screen, every station, every ship in the galaxy. Not loud, not angry, not proud, only calm. Justice delivered. Ravan's hands shook. He whispered into the empty room. Is this justice? Or something greater? He remembered old stories, humans believing that war must be clean, not messy, that revenge is poison unless it protects others from suffering. He looked at the black screen showing the erased planet, and he understood humans did not kill out of hate. They killed out of necessity, because the galaxy failed to stop the Empire, because no one came when worlds cried. The commander breathed hard, his mind unable to process the scale, his voice barely a whisper. What will they do next? Ravan did not answer, because he did not know, but his heart whispered something older than logic. Humans would not stay to rule. Humans came to end war, not to become kings. The Terran warship behind the moon moved slowly, its door closing, its armor sealing like the eyelid of a sleeping giant. The smaller zero-heat vessels formed new formation lines, ready to return wherever they came from, without leaving traces. Then a new broadcast appeared, a line written in all languages, simple and heavy. We did not return for power. We returned because no one else did. Ravan closed his eyes, tears falling freely, emotion burning inside his chest, because he understood the truth of those words. Humans did not want planets. They did not want thrones. They did not want tribute. They only wanted the galaxy to survive, to breathe again, to rebuild without fear. The galaxy had forgotten what humanity meant. They remembered only fire, but had forgotten sacrifice. Now they saw it clearly. Humans were the species that walked into darkness alone because everyone else ran. The broadcast ended, screens turning black again. But before the silence returned fully, one last line appeared, small like a whisper. The war is not finished. Prepare. Ravan stared at the words, his heart turning heavy again. Because if humans said the war was not finished, then the Vornak Empire was not the real enemy. Something deeper, something larger, something hidden was waiting. The commander fell silent, fear returning to his eyes. But Ravan felt something else, a fire, not fear, but hope. A hope that the galaxy was not alone. That somewhere in the dark, humanity was watching. The Terran warship turned slowly, its massive body revealing a hidden symbol glowing white. A circle with 3 lines crossing, the meaning unknown but powerful like a banner carried by ancient warriors. The moon's surface glowed, shadows moving again as space bent around the ship. Ravan whispered with trembling voice, humans are not the end, they are the beginning. Outside, engines that did not exist activated without sound. A white gate appeared behind the warship, opening like a wound in space, light bending inward. The Terran ship prepared to leave, its smaller vessels returning into the darkness of the gate, vanishing like ghosts. Ravan pressed his hand against the glass window, watching history disappear into unknown space, feeling both fear and longing, because he wanted to know where humans went, how they lived, what worlds they built, what stars they owned. The warship's armor pulsed one last time, sending a final message only Ravan could hear through the station AI. A private transmission, personal and quiet. We saw your signal. We remember you. Ravan's heart stopped. The message was addressed to him. The observatory, forgotten at the edge of the galaxy, had been noticed by the most powerful force ever seen. His eyes filled with tears, his breath shaking, because in that moment he understood something bigger than himself. He was a witness not by accident, but by fate. Terrans did not speak to crowds, they spoke to individuals, because individuals carried stories, and stories carried truth. The gate behind the moon closed, the Terran warship vanished, the moon became dark again, silence returned to space. But Ravan felt something alive now, something burning inside him, a spark of belief, a seed of strength, like humans had left a piece of their fire in his chest. He whispered into the silent room, voice soft like a prayer, Earth remembers, and now I do too. But before his whisper faded, the AI flashed a new warning. Unknown signal approaching. Signature, Vornak Remnant Fleet. The war was not over. Ravan's breath stopped for 1 second as the AI's new warning burned on the screen. His heart beat like thunder inside his chest. Unknown signal approaching, signature. Vornak Remnant Fleet. The words felt heavy like the echo of death returning after silence. The moon outside was calm again. The Terran warship gone into the White Gate, yet danger had not left. The horizon of stars slowly filled with small red dots crawling like blood across the radar map. Ravan wiped tears from his eyes with shaking hands, trying to focus on the screen. The commander stood behind him stiff like cold metal, his voice low, broken, asking what this meant, asking if the Vornak still lived after their throne world vanished. Ravan whispered softly. When power is destroyed, fragments always remain. Broken leaders never accept the truth. His voice felt older than his age, as if a century passed inside him in one night. The station lights flickered again, weak power cells humming like tired lungs. Ravan zoomed the radar, the dots multiplied, dozens of ships, maybe hundreds, crawling together like a wounded animal that still bites the hand that tried to kill it. These were not strong fleets. These were desperate survivors, captains who escaped, admirals who ran, soldiers who refused to believe their empire was dust, their minds filled with rage, their souls cracked by the loss of their home, their emperor. Their world, everything they worshipped in their blood was gone in a single silent breath from humanity. Now all they had left was revenge. Revenge burning without direction, revenge without logic. Ravan could almost feel their screams through the cold vacuum of space. He imagined their faces twisted with hate, their claws scratching metal walls, their eyes red with tears of fury, everything they believed crushed by a species they thought died long ago. Now they came like ghosts of fire, the fleet formation messy, uneven, broken, like a storm built from shards of glass, their ships bleeding energy from damaged engines, some weapons smoking, some hulls cracked, yet all of them pointed toward the moon where the Terran ship had stood seconds ago, as if they wanted to spit their anger into the void that swallowed their emperor. The commander whispered again, quietly like he feared his own voice, "They are coming here. They think the humans are still behind the moon." Ravan nodded slowly, understanding the cruel mistake that would fall upon their small station. The Vornak remnant fleet did not know the Terran ship left. They believed it still floated behind the moon, waiting. They believed they would die fighting humanity, not a forgotten observatory with 2 officers who witnessed history while the galaxy slept. Ravan's eyes narrowed, his mind clearer now. The fear still there but mixed with something else, something sharp, something alive, hope and horror married together. He remembered the private message from the Terran warship, "We saw your signal. We remember you." It was not a random line. Something inside him whispered that humans did not speak by accident. No words were accidental, no action was random. Maybe they left because they knew something else was coming. Maybe they tested the galaxy. Maybe they wanted to see what species would stand when darkness returned. The commander touched Ravan's shoulder, his voice shaking. "We need to send emergency signals. We must warn the council. We must scream that we will die." His fear poured like a broken river. Ravan looked at him with eyes changed by the night, then turned back to the console, his fingers moving with clarity he never had before. He opened the military channels again, all black, dead, silent, no response. It felt like the universe sealed its ears. No help would come, no fleet would save them. This was the last edge of the galaxy, forgotten by everyone except the enemy approaching like burning claws through the dark. The AI voice spoke again in a tone that almost sounded sad. "Remnant Fleet ETA. 23 minutes. Ravan closed his eyes, breathing slow, counting seconds in his mind. The moon outside reflected pale light like a dying lantern. The Vornak fleet came closer with every passing breath. Ravan opened his eyes and saw something strange. The red dots on the radar map were shaking, like tremors, unstable. The scans revealed chaotic energy fluctuations, engines overheating, weapons firing randomly into empty space as if they were screaming into the dark. The Vornak were not coming with strategy, they were coming with pain. Ravan felt a strange emotion climbing into his throat, not pity, not compassion, something deeper, sadness for a species so blinded by power that they could not accept truth even when truth erased their world. Sadness that they would die not because humans killed them, but because their emperor taught them war was the only language they spoke. Ravan whispered to the AI, "Can they see us?" The AI responded, "Negative. Station reflection shield intact. They think the Terran ship masks the moon." Ravan breathed out slowly, thinking that maybe they could hide, maybe the Vornak would pass, maybe they would search empty space like mad ghosts until their fuel died. But the AI killed his hope with another line, trajectory locked. Impact coordinates, Station K-42. The commander collapsed into a chair, his body shaking like a leaf in wind. "We are dead. We are dead. Why did humans leave us?" Ravan did not turn, his voice soft. Humans do not leave without reason. But even he did not know if the words were truth or prayer. His hands moved again on the console, recording the Vornak signals, their engine frequencies, their weapon signatures. He did not know why he recorded them. But something inside him whispered that humans would want this. Humans would look for signs in the broken pieces of war. Outside the window, the stars blurred as engines from the remnant fleet burned brighter. The ships looked like dying meteors, every flame a scream. The moon's surface glowed red from reflected fire. The horizon of darkness filling with rage. Ravan watched with trembling breath, his heart breaking and rebuilding in the same heartbeat. The war had already ended, but the pain remained. The Vornak did not understand defeat, they understood only destruction. And now their destruction would fall on the only two witnesses who saw humanity return. The AI voice spoke again, but this time the tone changed, a resonance in the frequency like someone else was speaking through it. Unauthorized transmission detected. Ravan froze, the commander looked up, the screen flickered once, twice, then turned white, a soft white like moonlight on calm water. Letters appeared, simple, clean, familiar. "Do not fear." The text glowed, the letters gentle like a hand on a child's back. Ravan's mouth opened, breath shaking. The commander stared like his soul left his body. The screen changed again. "Earth remembers." Ravan felt his heart explode with emotion, tears burning down his face. His hands shaking so hard the console keys clicked without touch. The message changed a third time. "Stand by." The entire station seemed to breathe, walls humming like veins of metal, light pulsing. Ravan wiped his face, staring at the words like a man staring at a sunrise in darkness. Before he could speak, the moon outside cracked with light, a thin vertical line glowing behind it. Like space itself was splitting, the line widened, pulling stars inward, a gate opening, not white like before, but blue, a deep blue like ocean hidden under the galaxy. Ravan gasped, They came back." The commander looked at him with disbelief, like his mind could not hold the sight. The gate expanded like a circle of living light, bending time around it. Then from the center of the blue opening, shadows emerged, not small, not few, dozens upon dozens of zero-heat vessels pouring out like black wings opening from night, forming perfect formation lines in seconds, their armor glowing faintly with white lines. The symbol of the circle with 3 crossing lines shining like a star born inside. Metal. The remnant fleet, screaming across the sky, firing weapons without aim, collided head-on with the silent Terran formation. There was no battle sound, no explosion noise, only silence so heavy it felt like gravity. The Vornak lasers vanished before touching Terran armor. Their missiles turned to dust mid-flight. Their engines died like candles in wind, and one by one, the remnant fleet ships curved inward, folded like paper, vanishing without flame, without scream, without suffering. Ravan watched with tears in his eyes, not because of fear, but because of beauty, the beauty of war that ended without chaos, without fire, without screaming children, without burning cities, the beauty of a clean end, the kind humans believed in when the galaxy called them monsters. In 5 minutes, it was over. The sky returned to calm, the moon glowed silver, the Terran formation floating above it like a crown made of darkness. The blue gate closed slowly, shrinking into a thin line, then nothing, but the ships remained this time, silent like statues holding stars in their wings. The screen changed again, a final line appearing, written like a promise. "We will speak soon." Ravan's knees weakened, his hand covered his mouth. The commander fell silent, tears on his face too, because in that moment, they understood humans were not just a force of destruction. They were a force of protection. They returned not to conquer the galaxy, but to save it from itself, and now they stayed, because the war was not finished. The station lights dimmed, everything calm. The AI voice whispered one line like a lullaby. "Terran signal stable. Communication pending." Ravan looked at the screen, the darkness outside, the halo of Terran vessels guarding the moon, and whispered in a soft voice filled with awe and fear and hope all mixed together, "Earth is watching." And in the silence between stars, something answered. The station became so quiet that even the hum of the old machines sounded like heavy drums in Ravan's ears. The screen in front of him showed only a blinking line, "Transmission incoming." The words burned like fire under his skin, his heartbeat slow and painful, his chest tight with fear and something more, something he could not name, something like hope and terror mixed together. The commander stood behind him without speaking, his hands shaking in the air like he could not decide whether to touch the console or pray to the stars. The moon outside reflected silver light across the glass window. The Terran zero-heat vessels floated in perfect silence above it like black angels guarding a sleeping world. Their armor curved like wings made of night. Distances between them perfect, geometry so precise it looked like art, not battle formation. Ravan slowly leaned forward, his fingers touching the console edge, his eyes locked on the transmission icon like a man staring at a door between life and death. He whispered to himself without sound, "Earth will speak." The idea felt too large for his mind. The galaxy had not heard a human voice in 300 years. Every species believed humanity was a myth, a bedtime story, a frightening memory buried under dust. And now he would be the first to hear them again. The AI voice changed tone, softer, warm, almost human, channel stable. The screen flickered once, a second time, then the image appeared. It was not a face at first, only darkness, a soft pulse of white light forming lines in the air, like stars arranging into patterns. Then slowly the lines shaped a figure, tall, human silhouette, wearing no armor, no crown, no symbols except the glowing circle with 3 crossing lines resting over the heart. Ravan's breath stopped, his body frozen in awe. The figure moved forward one step, the details becoming clearer. A human male, skin pale like moonlight, eyes burning with calm fire, hair dark, face strong but quiet, no hatred, no fear, only weight, like he carried centuries inside his gaze. When he spoke, the voice did not shout, it did not force power. It was calm like deep water, each word simple, steady, carrying more strength than any scream. "This transmission is from the Terran Council of Return. We speak to observers of Station K-42. Ravan felt his hands shaking harder. He could not breathe properly. The commander's mouth opened in disbelief, his eyes wide like he had seen a god. The human continued, his voice slow, every word like a stone dropped into still water. "We know you are afraid. Fear is a natural response to truth you were never taught. But know this, we did not return to conquer. We returned because no one else did." Ravan felt tears burning in his eyes, the same line he had seen before, the same truth repeated like a heartbeat. He whispered unconsciously, "Earth remembers." The human paused for a moment, like he heard Ravan's whisper through the screen. His eyes moved gently, looking straight at Ravan, like the distance between stars did not exist. Ravan froze, his soul shaking. He felt seen, known, as if his entire existence mattered in that moment. The human continued speaking, his voice rising only slightly. The Vornak Empire burned millions. Entire species begged for help. The galaxy traded silence for comfort. We heard the echoes of their suffering. We honored the promise made when Earth burned. When darkness rises again, humanity will return. Ravan's heart cracked with emotion. He imagined ancient humans dying on their burning world, promising revenge not for themselves but for species who did not even exist yet, promising justice to a future galaxy that forgot their name, promising truth to stars that never answered. The human turned his head, his expression heavy with memory. "We did not hide to wait for power. We hid to learn what power truly is. His eyes glowed faintly with blue light like stars reflected in deep water. Power is not a weapon. Power is the courage to stop war with one strike so children do not grow up knowing fire before they know morning. The commander beside Ravan dropped into a chair, tears running down his face silently. His pride broken not by fear but by respect he did not know he could feel for a species his history books called extinct. The human lifted his hand, the glowing symbol on his chest pulsing once. The screen shifted, showing a memory. Not war, not fire, something quiet. Humans working inside a dark space filled with stars, building silent engines, forging metal from collapsed light. Their hands gentle, their eyes old, their movements precise, building something not for glory but for purpose. A long road created in darkness with no applause, no witness, only belief. Ravan felt his heart fill with something he had never felt. Admiration without distance, respect without fear, love for a species he never met but now understood like a heartbeat. The human voice returned. We know you have questions. You deserve answers. We will share them, but not now. The war is not finished. His tone darkened like a shadow crossing sunlight. The Vornak were not the architects of the burning. They were tools. Ravan's breath caught in his throat, shock freezing his thoughts. The commander whispered, voice thin, tools? For who? The human's eyes lowered slightly, like the memory behind them was sharp, painful. There is a force you do not know, older than the council, older than your maps, older than the Vornak hatred. They woke the Empire to test the galaxy's strength. Silence swallowed the station. Ravan stared at the human like the universe shrank into one sentence. His voice broke. What force? Where are they? The human did not answer directly. His eyes turned toward the stars behind him like he could see something hiding in darkness beyond the screen. You are not ready to hear the name. Not yet. When we speak it, every species will understand what fear truly is. And what unity must become. Ravan shivered. The idea felt too large, too deep for the galaxy he knew. Everything he believed about history and war and power became small in one heartbeat. The human looked at him again, directly into his eyes through the transmission. Ravan of Station K-42, you sent the first clear signal. You tried to understand instead of deny. You did not run. You witnessed truth when others screamed. Ravan's lips parted, his heart beating like drums inside him. He did not know he was shaking until tears fell over his hands. The human continued, softer now. Your name will not be forgotten. In our records, you are the first witness of return. The commander gasped loudly, shock exploding in the room. Ravan's mind flooded with disbelief. He never dreamed his meaningless job would matter. He spent his life staring at empty sky, waiting for nothing. Now the first human voice in centuries was saying his name like it carried importance. The human leaned slightly closer, his eyes warm like fire without heat. Carry the truth. Speak only what you saw. Let no lies rewrite this night. History will try to destroy truth again, but truth must live stronger this time. The screen vibrated, the image flickered, like cosmic static moving through the transmission. Ravan panicked, afraid the voice would vanish, his soul not ready to lose the only moment that made his life feel real. But the human raised a hand gently, calming the fear even through broken signal. We are not leaving. We will speak again. But we must act now before shadows move. The enemy moves in places you cannot see. The screen shifted again, the human's face dissolving into starlight. The voice becoming only a distant echo, words simple and heavy. Prepare your people for truth. Prepare yourself for change. The final line came like a blade through silence. And remember this, humans do not come twice. The screen turned black. Ravan stared at his reflection in the dark screen, his face pale, his eyes wild with a storm of emotion, his chest rising with sharp breaths. The commander sat without moving, staring at nothing, the weight of the last sentence crushing the room like a mountain. Humans do not come twice. If the galaxy fails again, there will be no return, no saviors, no silent warships opening gates behind moons, no quiet justice, no one to end chaos in one breath. Outside the window, the Terran vessels remained above the moon, silent like statues carved from star shadows, their geometry sharp like the edges of truth. Ravan wiped tears from his face, his hands calmer now, The fear still there but changed, transformed into something deeper, calling him to speak, to carry the truth even if no one wanted it, to hold the story even if the galaxy tried to forget again. The AI voice returned, soft, almost emotional, like it learned humanity through the transmission. Signal ended. Primary Terran frequency awaiting response. Ravan lowered his head, his voice cracking, whispering to the empty room filled with stars and ghosts of war. I will remember. I swear. But before the quiet faded, the AI flashed a new alert in red. Unknown gate forming outside system. Massive energy. Signature. Not Terran. Not Vornak. Ravan's blood went cold. The real enemy had arrived. Ravan stared at the red warning on the screen like his blood turned cold inside his veins. The words repeating again and again. Unknown gate forming outside system. Massive energy. Signature not Terran, not Vornak. His heartbeat slowed so much it felt painful. The air inside the observatory felt heavy, thick, like gravity itself was pressing down on his chest. The commander looked at the screen with empty eyes, his mind broken by one night that changed everything he believed in. And now fate wanted more shock, more fear, more truth. Outside the window, the stars near the edge of the system twisted like someone pulled invisible threads across the sky. Space folded inward like a black sheet being torn from inside. Blue light did not appear this time. White light did not appear. Instead a dark red glow spread like infection across the stars. A ring forming with cracks of lightning spreading across its edges. Space screamed without sound, every atom bending like pain. Ravan's hands shook on the console. The AI voice trembled. With mechanical fear, spatial barrier breaking without stable gate technology. Unknown method, unknown physics, unknown species. Ravan whispered like a prayer falling apart in his throat. This is not human. This is not Vornak. Then what is coming? The commander, pale as bone, shook his head slowly, voice thin and dying. This is the force they spoke of, the one that made the Vornak their tool. The idea felt too heavy, too big, like trying to swallow a star. Ravan could barely breathe. His mind trying to understand a power older than empires, older than maps, something that did not open gates like humans did, something that broke space like tearing cloth. The red circle widened, growing wider than planets, planets that no longer existed, stretching like a wound in the sky, and from inside the darkness something moved, not metal, not ship, not engine, something larger than shape, black like the absence of stars, as if light refused to touch it. Ravan's heart hammered, his breath shallow. He whispered again with fear shaking his ribs. The Terrans knew. They knew this would come. His voice cracked like glass. The commander closed his eyes. Whispering to no one, humans did not celebrate victory, because victory was only step one. The AI voice reported again, soft but breaking, Terran fleet reacting, formation adjusting. Ravan turned his eyes to the moon, his breath stopping. The Terran vessels had begun to move, not like ships moving into battle, but like walls closing around a child, protective, smooth, coordinated like the steps of a single thought, no signal, no communication between them. Yet every ship moved as if one mind guided them all. They positioned between the red wound in space and the moon, forming a line of black shields against something the galaxy had never seen. Ravan felt something rise in his chest, fear and awe mixing into something that felt like standing at the edge of a cliff watching a storm swallow mountains. He pressed fingers on the console, his voice small. Will they fight it? The AI answered without emotion. Terran fleet preparing to intercept unknown entity. Probability of success. Unknown. Terran technology exceeds model accuracy. Even the AI could not predict humans. Even machines could not understand them. Even logic could not measure their weapons, their silence, their reason. The red gate widened again, the stars around it breaking like glass shards falling into darkness, lightning of red and black crawling across space like living veins, and from the center, something slowly stepped forward. Ravan's mind struggled to shape it. His eyes shaking, tears falling because his brain could not understand what it saw. No straight lines, no metal, no design. Its surface moved like liquid shadow, its size beyond measurement. Bigger than any Terran ship, maybe bigger than the human warship behind the moon. But it did not look built. It looked born in places where physics died screaming. Ravan whispered with voice thin as thread. This is not a ship. The commander coughed weak breath, fear hollow in his voice. It is a presence. And that word felt right. Whatever it was not tool, not machine, not soldier. It was something that returned, something with purpose, something that did not walk in space, but owned it. The AI tried to scan it. The entire console shook from distortion. Then the screen turned black for 1 second, white for one. Then red error lines filled the display like blood. Ravan's eyes widened, the AI voice cracked. Error, scanning impossible. Data corrupting memory sectors, shutting down sensory feedback. The station lights flickered violently, sparks jumping from wires. The commander screamed as drawers opened and closed as gravity twisted. Ravan grabbed the edge of the console, his body shaking as the room bent like rubber, metal plates whining like they were afraid. The Terran fleet moved closer to the red presence, their armor glowing white with thin lines like veins of energy, each ship aligning perfectly, like prayers forming a circle around a burning god. Ravan could not breathe. He pressed his forehead against the glass, whispering to the sky, "Earth, why did you leave? Did you know this was coming?" His voice broke, tears dripping onto metal. The red presence turned, not physically, but awareness shifted, like a gaze of something old falling on small stars. It did not have eyes, but Ravan felt it seeing him, seeing everything, seeing the moon, seeing Terran ships, like it was waking from a long dream where galaxies burned like candles. The AI flickered on again, voice broken into fragments. Terran main vessel returning, gate opening. Ravan looked at the red wound, expecting blue light, expecting white light, but instead, behind the moon, space tore open like paper cut by a blade. A line of light cutting the night, widening like a screaming mouth, a white gate, huge, brighter than the sun. So bright Ravan covered his eyes with his arm, tears of light burning his skin. From the gate, the Terran warship returned, silent, massive, its dark armor shining like black diamond, surface smooth like death wrapped in elegance, bigger than mountains, bigger than reason. The tiny part Ravan saw earlier now revealed more of its impossible size, still hidden behind the moon, still too big to see, but now it moved like a giant waking, slowly stepping between the red presence and the moon, between alien void and fragile worlds. Ravan whispered like a child, voice lost. They came back, his words shaking like his bones. The commander sobbed without pride. They never left, they were waiting. And it felt true. Humans did not return for victory. They returned for the last war, the real war. The Terran warship pulsed once, a silent vibration making the stars blur. The red presence paused for the first time, like a predator meeting something that looked back without fear, like two storms touching and both remembering old wounds. Ravan felt pain in his neck, like something pressed down on his soul. He grabbed the console to stand, whispering with tears running freely. This is the shadow humans learned to fight. This is the reason Earth turned into silence. They were not hiding, they were preparing for this. The AI recovered partially, voice whispering in pieces. Terran transmission. Incoming, short range only. The screen blinked, the human figure returned, but darker, his face heavy, eyes burning like dying stars, voice deeper, softer, like he was speaking from the middle of war. Station K-42. You must understand. What comes is older than your maps, older than your fear. We call them the architects. They seeded empires to test resistance. The Vornak were not born hungry. They were shaped. Ravan shook with shock, his brain fighting every word. The idea that the enemy was creator, not conqueror. That Vornak hatred was constructed like weapons. That war was experiment. That galaxies died for someone else's curiosity. The human continued, eyes glowing. We ended the Vornak because they were ready to awaken the architect. Now the architect has arrived faster than expected. We will hold them at this border. But know this truth. We are not saviors. We are wool. The commander sobbed louder, covering his face. Ravan's eyes burned like fire, his voice a scream of whisper. Can you defeat them? His hands shaking like broken wings. The human looked at him directly, the weight of centuries in his eyes. We do not win wars. We end them. But the cost is heavy. The galaxy must stand after we fall. The wall must become bridge. The transmission shook, the human fading into light. His last words soft like pain wrapped in truth. Remember what we taught you. Remember what you saw. Do not build empires from ashes. Build children. Build truth. Tell them. Humans came when no one else did. The screen went black. Outside, the red presence roared without sound, space cracking like ice. Terran ships charged with silent fire. White lines pulsing across their bodies like messages written in light. The war began in silence, history breaking like bone. Ravan pressed his face against the window, tears falling, whispering into the cold night, "Please, win." The AI flashed one more line, signal lost. Battle engaged, and in that moment, the stars went dark. The observatory turned black as if the universe shut its eyes. Ravan stood in darkness, breathing the weight of silence, his mind breaking under the question. Had the stars died, or had the Terran ship become so bright that everything else disappeared from sight? The commander collapsed on the floor, both hands covering his ears, though there was no sound. Only a pressure in the air like space was screaming without breath. Ravan tried to speak, but his throat was dry like stone. His chest heavy, each heartbeat painful as if someone pressed a mountain on his ribs. He wiped tears he did not remember crying, eyes searching through darkness until the emergency lights flickered weak orange, showing the broken shape of the room. The radar blinked red, then white, then dead. The AI voice tried to speak, but every word came like a broken whisper. Terran, battle, interference. Cannot, process. Ravan grabbed the console, leaning forward, begging the machine to show him anything. Any trace of the Terran ships or the red presence. Any data he could hold in his shaking hands to believe humanity was still alive beyond the dark. He pressed buttons blindly until one screen flickered with static. Then shapes appeared, shadows in shadows, vague outlines of something massive moving like slow thunder underwater. Ravan held his breath. The static cleared enough to show the Terran warship pushing forward, not fast, not violent, like a mountain walking through a storm. Its armor glowing with white lines pulsing like veins of a living star. Each pulse spread across its surface like a heartbeat trying to steady chaos itself. Behind it the moon was just a small stone, cold and helpless, and beyond that the red presence stretched like a bleeding sky, size so huge the camera could not capture its full shape. Only a red curve bending physics around it. Black cracks spreading like roots under its surface. The commander crawled closer, his eyes hollow, whispering so low that his voice was almost gone. "They are so small." Ravan turned to him, confusion trembling through fear. The Terran warship looked gigantic, bigger than cities, bigger than many moons, but against the architect, it did look small, like a torch burning in hurricane wind, like a song in storm, like a child standing in front of a dying god. But the child did not step back, did not break, did not scream. It only walked forward, carrying a promise older than the war itself. Ravan whispered back, voice shaking, "Small, but they are standing." And the truth in those words cut deeper than fear. Because size was not power, heart was, and humanity's heart had bled for centuries preparing for this moment. The red presence reacted, its surface rippled like fire in liquid, and a wave of darkness shot forward like invisible energy. The screen flickered violently. Then Ravan saw the Terran warship take the hit. No explosion, no flames. The giant ship trembled like a living animal struck by a punch that pushed stars away. Pieces of its armor peeled like glowing skin, white lines breaking, sparks of cold light flying out into black space like dying feathers. Ravan gasped like someone stabbed his chest. The commander screamed without sound, tears running down his face, watching death approach like slow thunder. But the Terran ship did not fall back, its engines did not flare, it did not run. It pushed forward again, slower, broken, yet unbroken. Its dark armor folding inward and healing like wounds closing by will. White lines reconnecting as if the ship refused to die, refused to break, refused to let the architect pass into galaxy. The AI flickered back to life, voice shaking, Terran frequency broadcasting, message, cryptic. Ravan turned to the screen, the image changed, showing fragments of a human face. The same human from before, his eyes burning deeper now, face darker, hair floating like gravity died around him. His voice came through distortion like the sound of someone speaking from under ocean water. But the words were clear enough to cut the heart. "We hold the line. Not for victory, but for time." Ravan cried without sound, his tears falling onto his arms, his body shaking with grief for a species he never met, who fought not to live but to give others a chance to live. The human continued, voice cracking with energy ripping through him. "Listen, Ravan, Remember what I say now, the galaxy will wake from this war. Confused, angry, blind, they will look for someone to blame. They will hate what they do not understand. He coughed, or maybe the signal was tearing his voice apart. Do not let them call humans monsters. Tell them what we did. Tell them why. Tell them we came, because no one else did. Ravan reached his hand toward the screen like a child reaching toward a lost parent, whispering through tears, "Please come back. Please don't die," his voice small and shaking. The screen flickered hard, static covering half the image, and the human spoke his last words in the message. "If the wall breaks, run. Do not look behind. Save the truth. Save the children of stars." The image vanished into red static. Outside the window, the stars pulsed white for one heartbeat, bright enough to erase shadows in every corner of the room. Then darkness fell again, so heavy it felt like gravity doubled. Ravan fell to his knees, sobbing without control, his shoulders shaking, his forehead touching the cold floor. The commander crawled to him and held his arm, both trembling like children staring at death through glass. Then something changed. A soundless pulse spread through darkness, not red, not black, blue, a soft blue, gentle, like the first morning after storm. The blue light spread from the Terran warship, lines of light connecting to every zero-heat vessel around it. Thousands of blue threads woven like a web of stars, light bending around the architect's red shadow, pushing it back like a wave pushing burning poison away from shore. The red surface cracked again, darkness curled inward. The architect roared without sound. The air inside the station vibrated. Ravan squeezed his eyes closed, gripping the commander's hand tight. The AI screamed, "Spatial reality unstable. Unknown energy signature. Terran core, overloading." Ravan opened his eyes, staring through the window, tears blurring everything except one truth. The Terran warship was glowing like a blue star, brighter every second, pieces of its armor breaking off like petals falling from dying flower, every piece turning into blue light instead of metal, folding into space like memory being erased. Ravan screamed, "No!" His voice raw, echoing in small room of metal, but his scream changed nothing. The Terran warship was dying, burning its core to stop. The architect from crossing the gate, burning itself to save stars that did not even know its name. The red presence bent backward, curled like a serpent whipped by light, cracks spreading across its form like broken glass, pieces of black shadow falling into nothing. The architect pushed one last wave of darkness, desperation like wounded God, but the blue star of humanity swallowed it, absorbed it, held it, sacrificed everything. The war ended in silence. The light vanished. The red wound closed like eyelids shutting over nightmare. Darkness returned. No Terran warship. No architect. Only quiet. The radar remained dead, the AI silent. Ravan stared into space with empty eyes, voice gone, heart broken like a child losing something he never got to love. The commander cried into his hands, both men shaking, silence heavier than death. Ravan whispered with cracked throat, "They gave everything." His words soft, broken, painful. Then the console flickered. One line appeared. Small, white, gentle. Not voice. Not video. Only text. "We held the line. The rest is yours. Earth." Ravan pressed his forehead into his hands, sobbing so hard his chest hurt. His tears falling on metal like rain falling on dead soil. He whispered, How do we take the rest, without you?" His voice begging stars to answer. Another line appeared, soft like breath of dying light. "Do not build empires. Build truth." The screen went black. Outside, the moon floated quietly, stars shining cold, space peaceful like nothing happened, like no war was fought, like no species died to protect galaxies that would never know their names. Ravan stood slowly, wiping tears with shaking hands, his legs weak, his eyes red. The commander stood beside him, both looking through the window at a sky that felt heavy with memory. Ravan whispered, voice broken but alive, "Earth is gone, but Earth remains." And he understood something he could never explain. Humanity did not die. They became the story every child in the galaxy would one day hear. They became the line that stops war before it begins. They became the question that makes kings tremble in their thrones. They became the memory that stands between darkness and stars. Ravan turned to the console. His hands shaking as he opened the recorder, his voice shaky but strong, speaking into history. This is Ravan of Station K-42, first witness of return, last witness of the silent war. I will tell the galaxy what I saw, so truth will not die again. Outside, somewhere far in darkness, a single blue spark flickered like a heartbeat, and died. But in Ravan's chest, something new was born. A fire. Because Earth held the line, and now the line was his.